Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. All right, time for a single lives matter kind of rally video. I'm in Taiwan at the moment for a vacation as well as a potential career pivot. This is the underground mall at Taipei Main Station. Now, does single bias exist here in Taiwan? Yes and no. Of course, the natural benefits of being partnered up still exist, right? Two people can always cook for each other, can always clean for each other, can always take care of each other when one of them is sick. That's not going to disappear just because you live in a collectivist society, right? But I think there's more recognition that everybody has a different path in life, right? If I were working here in Taiwan, because I've witnessed people who work in tech, the people at the hostel that I'm staying at, right? The people working at restaurants that I'm eating out at, right? Obviously, I come into contact with that here in Taiwan. I would imagine it is a lot easier to have work life balance in order to either go out and date or to enjoy your life as a single individual here in Taiwan, much more so than in the United States, right? My favorite example of this in the United States was it was a Tuesday night. I was working at a technology company in New York City, and we had a really difficult bug to debug. Everybody had gone home. Most of my colleagues were married, had kids, and all that. I stayed behind to work on it. I figured it out at 8:30, 9 o'clock. By this time, the entire office had left. I was working in a high-rise building. I think we were on the 25th floor, something like that. And I wanted to celebrate, but there was nobody around me. I jumped up and down and screamed just to celebrate. And then I decided I need to go home, and I realized, it's 8:30. I don't have time to cook dinner. And so I quickly Googled a nearby restaurant. Now, this is New York City. The cost of eating out is not cheap. I mean, granted, I was making good money at the time, but it's not cheap to eat out. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. I just spent money out of my own pocket so that my colleagues could go enjoy time with their family, with their kids. I basically subsidized a small amount of my colleagues' childcare opportunity costs, right? In a roundabout way, that's what happened, right? Of course, good luck getting the rest of the. I mean, would I mind doing? Would I do it again? I probably would, but I want to do it with the idea that I also get some reciprocal favors, right? So, for example, for example, uh, uh, maybe at the time I wasn't really into dating. Right? I had just gotten out of a toxic relationship, but I certainly was into going to the Computer Olympiad conferences, right? And I often made the trips really rushed because that's not so important. You could be jet lagged and come to work. You don't have kids to take care of, right? And here in Taiwan, I don't think it would play out. In Taiwan, would I have also needed to help out my colleague who wanted to spend time with their family and kids? Probably, but they would have helped me when I wanted to go out to date or to go see the summer solstice the other day, or to go to a computer Olympiad, or to eventually, if my Lego projects get accepted, to go meet with the president of Legos. I'm sure my colleagues would be accepting of that too, right? Both two directions, right? And the other thing I noticed is that over in the United States, of course, there are natural benefits to being partnered up, right? We're not going to get away from that no matter what country you're in. But a lot of Americans don't who are partnered up, they often refuse to check their privilege when when you're working with them. Let me give you an example. I don't know how many of you guys love to watch the Dave Ramsey show. I don't like his religious and his political stance, but he has some okay advice, right? Now, Dave Ramsey often says that the number one determiner of wealth is marriage, right? He doesn't like it when people date and live together. He doesn't like it when people date and share expenses, right? Number one determiner of wealth is marriage. First of all, I believe that's false. The number one way that society prejudices you to get wealth is marriage, probably, right? It's not the number one natural determiner of wealth. Okay, but I'll let that slide for now because I want to get to something else. But then somebody calls him. They're deep in credit card debt, medical debt, student loans, right? And they're single. And Dave's advice is that he doesn't want to see them inside on the inside of a restaurant unless they're working there until all of that debt is zeroed out, right? He says that pretty much every video where somebody calls it, right? Now, how he's sitting on his high privilege of being married for what 40, 50 years. I don't know how long he's been married, and he realizes that society gives him a huge dividend for being. I mean, nature gives him a small dividend, but the biggest dividend is given by society and government, right? And yet he basically rubs it in their face, right? Ha ha, right? And now again, are people who are partnered up doing better here in Taiwan? Probably, but I feel there's a lot less of that rubbing in your face, right? Um, and it's just upsetting to hear. I was watching not Dave Ramsey this time, but another financial guru. I can't remember his name. He was telling about five expenses that will keep you poor. Something like, or five or ten, I can't remember. One of them was, and this is what inspired me to go out even when I had COVID last summer. One of them was a food delivery. At least he didn't say restaurants. I do agree food delivery is a scam. And the reason for that is that you're never going to meet a future life partner by ordering food delivery. If you're going to eat out, go eat out, right? But and it's just really rubbing it in your face, right? He's married, and apparently his kids still live with him, right? Adult kids still live with him, and he's rubbing it in your face, right? If you live alone and anything goes wrong, right? Get a COVID or get a mental health breakdown, you can't even order delivery, right? Because oh my god, you'll be poor forever, right? So here in Taiwan, when I talk to people who are married or partnered up or have adult children living with them, I feel there's more of a checking your privilege before you speak here in Taiwan or before you make policy at work, right? This is the Peter Light Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Light Show. Bum 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 bum.